Doesn't sound too bad. It's really a two-man job, said DJ. I tried to attach the cable on my first descent, but there was too much debris covering the Eunice. I couldn't maintain the claw's grip on the steel cable and clear the rocks away. The currents are real strong, too. Maybe you were nervous, added Terry. Bullshit, responded her brother. Come on, DJ, teased Terry. You told me it's kind of scary down there. It's not what you're looking at, or even the constant darkness. It's the claustrophobia, knowing that you're 7 miles down, surrounded by thousands of pounds of pressure. One mistake, one crack in the hull, and your brains implode from the change in pressure. Terry glanced at Jonas, looking for a reaction. Terry, you're just jealous. DJ looked at Jonas, his face full of animation. I loved it. What a rush. I can't wait to go back. I thought bungee jumping and parachuting were cool, but this beats the shit out of them. Jonas looked at DeMarco with concern. You consider yourself an adrenaline junkie? DJ calmed himself. No. I mean, yeah, I'm an adrenaline junkie, sure, but this is different, Doc. The challenge is deep. It's like being the first person to explore another planet. These huge black smokers everywhere, and the weirdest fish you ever saw. But what am I telling you? You've been on dozens of trench dives before. Jonas tugged on one of the red vinyl flags with the Tanaka logo that was attached to the back of each sub. He looked up at the younger pilot. I've piloted more than my share of dives into deep-sea trenches, but the Mariana Trench is a whole different ballgame. My suggestion is to leave the cowboy attitude behind. Jonas looked back toward the Kiku's interior chambers. Where can I find Dr. Heller? DJ threw a glance at his sister. He's in the Command Information Center, the CIC. It's attached to the pilot house. Jonas turned and walked away. Jonas walked down the corridor to a doorway labeled Operations. He stepped into the dark cabin, humming with computers, video monitors, radar, and sonar equipment. A gaunt man, with short-clipped gray hair and heavy black-framed glasses, was bent over a control panel, pecking at computer keys with his long fingers. He turned and looked at Jonas without speaking. He turned back to his computer, studied the monitor. Another fishing expedition, Taylor? Jonas paused a moment before he answered. That's not why I'm here, Frank. Why the hell are you here? I'm here because Masao asked for my help. The Japanese have no sense of irony. We're going to have to work together, Frank. The only way to find out what's going on down there is to haul up the damaged Eunice. DJ can't do it alone. I know that. Heller rose quickly and crossed the room to refill his coffee. What I don't understand is why you should be the one to go with him. Because nobody else has been down there in the last 30 years. Oh, yes, they have, Heller said bitterly. Only they died making the trip. Jonas broke eye contact. Frank, I want to talk to you about that. Jonas searched for the right words. Look, there hasn't been a day that's gone by in the last 7 years that I haven't thought about the Seacliff incident. To be honest with you, I'm still not sure what happened. All I know is that I believed I saw something rise up from the bottom to attack our sub, and I reacted. Heller moved to Jonas, stood face to face, inches away. His eyes burned with hatred. Guess that little confession makes everything all right in your book, but it changes nothing with me. You were daydreaming, Taylor. You hallucinated, thought you saw an extinct monster of all things, and killed 2 of your team, tossing aside years of training. You panicked. And you know what really ticks me off? You've spent the last 7 years making a career of justifying the possible existence of this megalodon, substantiating your fabricated excuse so you wouldn't look so bad. Heller was shaking with emotion. He took a step back and leaned against his desk. You make me ill, Taylor. Those men didn't deserve to die. Now here we are, 7 years later, and you still can't face up to the truth. I don't know what the truth is, Frank. I know I screwed up. I almost died down there myself. Now I've got to deal with this thing for the rest of my life. I'm not your priest, Taylor. I'm not here to take your confession or to hear about your guilty feelings. And what about your contribution to the accident? Jonas yelled. You were the physician of record. You told Danielson that I was medically fit to make a third descent into the trench, 3 dives within 8 days. Do you think that may have had anything to do with my ability to function? Bullshit! Why is it bullshit, Dr. Heller? Jonas paced across the room, his blood boiling. You said it yourself, wrote it on the official report, psychosis of the deep. You and Danielson forced me to pilot those dives without sufficient rest. And the 2 of you railroaded me, set me up to be the Navy's fall guy. It was your fault. Yes, whispered Jonas. It was my piloting error. But I never would have been placed in that position without your involvement, or Danielson's. So after 7 years, I've decided to go back down to finally face my fears, to figure out for myself what happened. Maybe it's time you faced up to your own responsibilities. Jonas headed toward the door. Hold it, Taylor. Look, maybe you shouldn't have been in the trench on that 3rd dive. As for me, Danielson was my commanding officer, but I still believed you were mentally fit. You were a damn good pilot. But let's just make sure that the reason you're making this dive with DJ is to assist him, and not to go off looking for some tooth. Jonas opened the door and turned to face Heller. I know my responsibilities, Frank. I hope you remember yours. 20 minutes later, having showered and changed, Jonas entered the galley where a dozen crewmen were noisily feasting on fried chicken and potatoes. He saw Terry seated next to DJ, a vacant chair to her left. Is the seat taken? Sit, she ordered. Doc! DJ sprayed half his mouthful of chicken out with the word. You're just in time. You know that practice dive we had scheduled for tomorrow? Well, forget about it. Jonas felt butterflies in his stomach. What are you saying, DJ? Captain Barr turned to Jonas, swallowed a mouthful of food, and said, Storm front moving in from the east. No time for practice dives. If you're going to descend this week, it's going to be tomorrow, first light. Jonas, if you're not ready yet, I think you should be man enough to admit it and let me step in, interjected Terry. Nah, he'll be fine, right, Doc? Said DJ, winking. After all, you've been down to the Mariana Trench before. Who said that? Jonas felt the room go quiet, all eyes on him. Come on, Doc, it's all over the ship. Some reporter in Guam interviewed half the crew by radio an hour after you boarded. What? What reporter? How the hell? Jonas no longer felt hungry. It's true, Jonas, said Terry. Same guy who was questioning you at the lecture. He claims 2 people died on the sub you were piloting. Said you panicked because you hallucinated, claiming to have seen one of those megalodons. DJ looked him squarely in the eye. So, Doc, any of this true? The room was dead silent. Jonas pushed his tray away from him. It's true. What this reporter, or whoever your source is, left out is that I was exhausted at the time, having already completed 2 deep trench dives during the same week. I was pushed into service, okayed by the medical officer. To this day, I'm not sure if what I saw was real or imagined. But as far as tomorrow is concerned, I made a commitment to your father to complete the mission, and I intend to keep that commitment. I've piloted subs on more deep-sea missions than you've had birthdays, DJ, so if you have a problem with me escorting you down, let's get it on the table right now. DJ smiled nervously. Hey, I've got no problem with you. Take it easy. Actually, Al DeMarco and I were just talking about this creature, this giant prehistoric shark of yours. Al says it would be impossible for a creature of that size to exist in water pressures as great as those in the trench. Now me, I'm on your side. I say it's possible. Not that I believe your theory, because I don't. But I've seen dozens of different species of fish down there. Now, if those little fish can withstand the water pressures, why couldn't this mega shark, or whatever the hell you call it? DJ was grinning From ear to ear, several crew members began snickering. Jonas stood up to leave. "You'll excuse me, I think I've lost my appetite." DJ grabbed his arm. "No, wait, Doc, come on now. Tell me about this shark. I really want to know. After all, how will I recognize it if I see it tomorrow?" "It'll be the big shark with the missing tooth," blurted out Terry. Laughter cascaded around them. Jonas sat back down. "Okay, DJ. If you really want to know about these monsters, I'll tell you. The first thing you have to realize about the shark family is that they've been around for about 400 million years. Compare that with humans, whose ancestors fell from the trees only about 2 million years ago. And of all the species of sharks ever to have inhabited the ocean, the megalodon was undisputed king. Forget for a moment that this species was a 60-foot version of a great white shark. The Meg was the supreme hunter of the planet during the reign of the dinosaurs, endowed with over 70 million years of killer instincts. Besides its massive size and murderous 7-inch serrated teeth, the creature also possessed 8 highly efficient sensory organs that allowed it to search, detect, identify, and stalk its prey. Let's start with its most amazing sensory organ, called the ampullae of Lorenzini. Along the top and underside of the Meg's snout were tiny jelly-filled capsules beneath the skin, which could detect electrical discharges in the water. Let me put that in layman's terms. The megalodon could detect the faint electrical field of its prey's beating heart or moving muscles hundreds of miles away. That means, if the megalodon was circling our ship, it could still detect a person enjoying a leisurely swim off the beaches of Guam. The room was silent now, all eyes focused on Jonas. Almost as amazing as the ampullae of Lorenzini was the megalodon's sense of smell. Unlike man, the creature possessed directional nostrils that could not only detect one part of blood, or sweat, or urine in a billion parts of water, but could determine the exact location of the scent. That's why you see great whites swimming with a side-to-side motion of their heads. They're actually smelling the water in different directions. A full-grown adult megalodon's nostrils were probably the size of a grapefruit. Now we come to the monster's skin, a sensory organ and weapon combined in one. Running along either side of the Meg's flank was an organ referred to as the lateral line. Actually, the line is more of a canal that contains sensory cells called neuromasts. These neuromasts were able to detect the slightest vibrations in water, even the flutter of another fish's heartbeat. "All right, Professor," said DeMarco. "Let's assume, just for argument's sake, that a megalodon shark did exist in the trench. Why hasn't it surfaced? After all, there's a hell of a lot more food topside than along the bottom." "That's easy," said Terry. "If it rose from 7 miles down, it would burst." "No, I don't agree," said Jonas. "Changes in water pressure, even drastic changes, affect sharks differently than humans. The megalodon would already have adapted to the crushing pressures 7 miles down. A full-grown adult megalodon would weigh upward of 45,000 pounds, and about 75% of that is water, contained primarily in the muscles and cartilage. The creature would have an enormous liver which would enable the Meg to reduce its specific gravity, in a sense decompressing as it rose. The journey would be strenuous, but the Meg would survive." "So then what would be the problem?" said Terry. "Obviously you weren't paying much attention during my lecture," Jonas responded. "Remember, I said that my theory for the existence of megalodons in the Mariana Trench was based on the presence of a warm layer of water prevailing along the bottom of the gorge, a result of the hydrothermal vents. Above that warm layer is 6 miles of freezing cold water. The rest of the megalodon species perished 100,000 years ago because of the drop in water temperatures resulting from the last ice age. Any Meg surviving in the trench did so because they were able to escape the colder waters above. The creatures would be trapped below. Even if they did attempt to surface, they'd never survive the cold.